I'm just here doing the service and the checkover on your 2019 Can-Am Outlander 1000 XMR. Bike has approximately 6,900 kilometers on it. I think it was 230 some hours. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through items on the service checklist where you have issues that need attention, and also there's 2 or 3 other things that I'd noticed while I was checking over the bike, and I'm just going to bring them up during the video. So let's get started here. Went in to check your air filter. First thing I noticed was these 3 wires that weren't connected to any of those switches. Switch on the left doesn't look like it's any good anymore. Switch in the center has been siliconed in. I'm not sure if he works. I haven't tested any of them. That one looks like it might work too, so I just have to test them out. But I will mention, I'm guessing that these are for the light bar that is up on above your radiator. But they are wired directly to the battery. So one of them, I assume, goes to the light bar, probably this guy, I'm guessing, or this guy. So that power wire goes to the light bar, and then on the other side, the other 2 go directly to the battery. So that means they're live. You want to make sure that if you have wires that are live, that you want to have them secured. If not to a switch, then capped off and zip tied, so you don't have to worry about them touching together or anything. They shouldn't really, but anyway. I would also mention that normally if you're going to have an accessory like a light bar hooked up, you want to have that working through keyed power, so you wouldn't want to have it so that you can turn the light on at any time and forget it on or anything like that. So you would run a relay. You can use a 12-volt power plug. There's a power wire on the back side of that. You can use that as a signal to activate your relay. Bikes like Can-Ams often have dedicated accessory power wires hiding in the harness that you can access and that sort of thing. The other thing about not wanting to make sure about as far as your accessory and not accidentally leaving it on is also when you have switches like these, most all of these little round guys are not IP67 rated, so they're not great for water immersion, so they're susceptible to corrosion, which I've had the fun of having to sort out a few times on different bikes because they're cheap. They're cheap little switches, so people like them. And what will happen is they'll actually short out internally, so they'll be in the off position, but they will actually conduct electricity, and often not enough to activate the accessory, but enough to drain your battery over a period of time, especially during storage. I've actually had bikes here before where you'd walk by during the day and everything would look fine, and you walk by at night and the LED light bar would just be very, very, very slightly illuminated because it doesn't take very much power to start illuminating the LEDs and light bar. So that's just a little information for you. If it's something you want corrected, then you let me know. I am not going to put it on the estimate because it doesn't make the bike stop, run, and go. Air filter. That guy, we're going to take him and we're going to throw him away. We're not going to keep him. He's done. So I think I do actually have a couple of BRP filters here. I'll look and see in stock, but whatever I have here, I'll put on the estimate. I also have aftermarket air filters too, so there's both options here. Brake fluid. That fluid is well overdue for changing. It's supposed to be changed out every 2 to 3 years. I would say it was never changed. I have a little meter that I test with. If we said normally brake fluid 2 to 3 years old, I'm going to normally see that around 1 to 3% moisture contamination. That's green to yellow. Yours is in the red. It actually just pegs the meter, so my meter only goes to 4%. So we're going to take that fluid and we're going to flush it all out through the lines with new fluid. And I'll wipe out any goo that I happen to find in the reservoirs. Sometimes you get a little bit of goo in them. Same thing up here for your master cylinder on the handlebar for the front brakes. I usually only test one or the other. If I find no issue with one, I will test the second. But if I find an issue with the first one, I know the other one's the same way. So I'm going to put in the estimate. We're going to change your fluid. What else? Engine coolant. Found that your surge tank was empty. Also found that when I popped the cap on your radiator, that there's no fluid in there's no coolant in the top part of the radiator. I don't know if it's empty or not. So what I'm going to do here is a couple things. First of all, you're actually overdue for a coolant change unless somebody's changed it. It's due on these about every 5 years. The bike is 7. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to top the coolant up in the system the way it is. I'm not going to change it right now, and I'm going to note how much it takes. Then I'm going to run the bike up to operating temperature, and what I'm going to do is I want to verify that the cooling fan's working all right, and second, that we don't have any little any leaks anywhere that would explain where some of that coolant had gone. Sometimes if bikes like these, if they get a lot of mud in the cooling fins on the radiator, yours isn't dirty. I don't know what it was like in the past because I've never seen it before. But you get enough mud in the radiator, it restricts airflow through it. And that, of course, reduces the cooling capacity through the little aluminum fins. Also, sometimes what will happen, it doesn't appear that's happened yet on yours, is that people will use high pressure to clean these and they'll bend the fins all up. There are a few fins, if you look in through, that have been bent, but I don't think there's been enough of an issue that way that it would cause it to run hot enough that it would be blowing excess coolant out through the overflow or anything like that. So we just want to really make sure that your cooling system's working right and it's sealed right. There's no little leaks right here. I'm not sure yet if that's coolant or if it's some water, because the bike was sitting outside. So I'm going to blow that little spot out with compressed air and just make sure that it dries off. Coolant doesn't generally dry off very well. So I'll get back to you on the cooling thing. But I am going to put in the estimate to change it and flush it out. And I'll have to put a little bit of diagnostic if we have to go too deep. Mostly what we've talked about is covered with the service time. As far as topping it up and running it up to temperature, that's already in the service time. What else? Rear brake caliper. So we're gonna go to that guy. Give me 1 second here. Just before we go to that, one other thing I'm going to mention to you, maybe you already know this, when you press your winch switch on the outside, and maybe you've mentioned this to me, I don't remember, your wrench is hooked up backwards, so your out goes in, your in goes out. So I don't know if you know that or not, but if you want that fixed, I can do that. That's usually just a case of swapping the leads at the solenoid. All right, so we go back here. And we see that brake pad on the front side, he's in good shape. So if I had a little pointy thing, there's a little pointy thing. So this is your pad material right here. This is your backer. If we go to the other pad, it's really hard to get a shot in the back end of these. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. You're going to have to take my word for it, I guess. But your back pad, well, you can just start to see it. Your back pad that's the metal backer, and you can see there's barely any pad material left between that and the disc. So those rear pads need to be changed, and I'd also want to service those sliders just to make sure that everything's moving freely the way that it's supposed to be. Often you can have problems with brake caliper seizings. They get corrosion in them and stuff like that. If you get enough water in your brake lines. That bike is here for a caliper replacement because of that problem. It's a little bit older than yours. I think it's 2017. But that is an issue that can happen if you don't change out your brake fluid every once in a while. Up here in the front, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you much or not, but your lower control arm bushings that run through the inside of your mounts, they need to be replaced on both sides. So you can see that guy wiggling around a little bit. And I don't know, maybe you can see this guy too. And you also have the same problem over here on this side. So that would be all, basically it's 4 mounts. Sometimes I can get those in a kit. It does just a lower arm, so whatever the best way is for you, that's how I will put it in the estimate. No problems with ball joints, wheel bearings. That was kind of surprising for one of these bikes, because usually I have some issues. Ball joints are a big thing on these, especially with the big tires and all that mass that's rotating out there. But maybe in the past somebody's already fixed those up. The shock bushings are good as well. Also no drive issues in the back end. No problem with wheel bearings. Sometimes you have problems with the bearings on your control arms. No problems with those either. So, what else is next? We're almost finished. I imagine you're happy. Rear cylinder on the back of the bike. Of course it's on the back of the bike. You get an oil seal leak there on that guy. That was something I just noticed as I was going around things. So I will put it on the estimate for replacing that cover seal. You don't have the same problem on the front seal. You are due for spark plugs. We've already talked about engine coolant. You're due for that. And if you know the previous owner, possibly you can ask him or they if the valve service is up to date on this bike. Because of course, if I'm replacing a seal on the rear cylinder head cover, that would be a good time to be able to do a valve lash adjustment. They're due on these, I think, every 3,000 kilometers or something like that. So you're due. It should have had 2 of them by now, because we're at like 6,900 and some kilometers. So, as far as I can see, that is all the problems that it has. I will put together an estimate for you that includes the service, the extra service for the gearbox and rear diff fluid, and all the other items that I've talked about, except for rewiring the light switch. So if you want that done, you tell me. If not, I won't worry about it. Anyway, if you have any questions, please let me know. And once again, I'm sorry for the long video, and I'm sorry for all my throat clearing during it. I've had that going on for a few days now. It just gets dry. You have a great day. Thanks a lot.